All right, welcome everybody. This is Hear Me Out. This is the first episode of 2021, episode 8, I believe. I'm Eric.
Brandon.
The one and only Donnovant.
And we have a special guest, Miss Ahn Vu. She's going to bring another layer of excitement to the group or whatever. So welcome on. Super happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome,
I'm happy
Ahn
to
Vu.
be here. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
You want to tell us a little bit about you. Just tell us a little background. Give us a little background right quick.
So, a little background: single mom. My daughter's 7. I have a dog, Oreo. Born and raised in Colorado, but I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for 16 years. So Atlanta's like my second home. Shouts out to the ATL. But I've traveled to numerous places. Lived in California for 2 years. I have a huge background in corporate America, property management, real estate. But these days, I'm just taking it easy, being a full-time mom, and loving every moment of it. So, enjoying it as much as I can, because as you guys know, they grow up really fast. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you say you were single?
yes, I am single.
Don't start. We don't need this. All right. So we got a couple of topics that we want to get through. The first thing I think we can probably talk about is most recently Prince Harry, Meghan Markle had the interview with Oprah. And it honestly feels like the shot heard around the world. Lots and lots of details, lots of stuff came out. Like who wants to dig in? Who wants to talk first?
I'll talk first. Yeah. Everybody saw the interview at this point, or did anybody check it out or caught the highlights at least?
Hey, An, let me stop. An, I'm sorry. We normally do ladies first, but Brandon wants to jump in, so go ahead, B. Do your thing.
I gave the 10-second pause, so I just jumped right in.
I know, though. I was just
Hey,
messing with
no,
you.
I appreciate that. I'm the new kid on the block here, so I'm just kind of taking your guys' direction and let you guys lead. I don't mind that at all. But I did see the full interview. I watched it from start to finish.
Sure. What were your thoughts on it?
I am very happy that they did the interview. I think it was about time that they told their side of the story, especially since Meghan has been dragged through the mud.
Yep.
I don't think that she would have been dragged through the mud quite as much as she has if she were a white woman with blonde hair and just did as she was told. And a lot of people are condemning her for telling her side of the story, but the way I look at it is if you don't speak up and don't defend yourself, then the oppressor continues to win. And, everyone says, well, there's 2 sides to every story, and we don't know what, was going on in the royal palace. Well, hey, that's their job to speak up on it now. But as far as I can see, for the past however many years, she has been dragged, and we have not heard a word from them as far as coming to her defense. Because, again, I think it's because mainly she's a woman of color. A lot of people will say, no, that has nothing to do with it, blah, blah, blah. Well, we don't see Prince William and his wife going through that, do we? That's because she walks the walk. She just does as she's told. She's white. She plays the role. And if Meghan fit that same race, same stereotype that women should just be told, we should just do as we're told, and we just need to behave, it wouldn't be an issue. We wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
I actually think it's a double-sided sword, so I definitely think there's obviously a racial component that goes into it, to which, like, no one should be surprised, coming from like the prince, the queen or whatnot. But second, I think also because she's an American, right?
Yeah.
And to Ann's point, the American female view is not to necessarily just go along and keep quiet. But over there, they have very strict traditions. And to be honest, like some of the backlash she's getting from like Piers Morgan and other other well-known Britons, is that they are very obviously very loyal to their queen and to that establishment. So there's going to be a lot of backlash that she's going to receive, not only from being a minority, I think, but just also from being an American, kind of rocking the table a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing, like Brandon, you mentioned that they're stuck in tradition, or they're rooted in tradition, not necessarily stuck in tradition, but rooted in tradition.
Rooted.
So the thing that I think that is really interesting about that is Megan made a, she made a comment during the interview to that point, and what she said was that Archie, their oldest, their son, they didn't want to give him a royal title and didn't want to give him security, and then and the royal title thing was really interesting to me because she cited a specific case. She said, or a particular precedence, and said, oh, well, when you look at this doctrine from Charles the Sixth or Charles the Seventh, every child that is born of the blood of the king, which he would be because he's Harry's son, gets a royal title and gets all of those things and all the things that go along with it. So they're going out. So it seems like the organization, or the firm, as they kept calling it, is going outside and willing to change those traditions just because of what. And it's like we as outsiders are only able to just kind of assume what it is, and the only thing that looks different, and she barely looks different in my opinion, but the only thing that looks different is Meghan Markle, and she's a woman of color. But I'm like, if you're gonna be somebody that's gonna stick with tradition, then there's that tradition there, and you're picking and choosing which one that you want to, which one and how you want to change them, how it suits you, and that's what colonizers do. That's what oppressors do, right?
Well, part of the problem is
The
also that she's
prisons,
American, right? That's going to be a big part of it. And then
I think so
she's
too.
black, right? So those things play a major role in what's going on. And I think it was one of those things of you can date them, but don't bring them home, right? So I think it's more Prince Charles and that stature, not the queen, right? And there's three sides to every story: his side, her side, and the truth, right? So the Britons, they're not going to come out and say anything because it could be damaging to them. They're just going to be silent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
yeah,
I got to commend Harry for, taking things into his own hands, taking matter into his own hands because of what happened to his mom. And a lot of people are saying things like, "Well, I didn't even watch the interview." Someone commented on my Facebook earlier saying, "I didn't watch the interview because what's going on in the UK and with the royals has nothing to do with me. Why are they coming out and speaking now?" And I'm like, this is deeper than the royals. This has nothing even really to do with them. This is about racism. This is about sexism. This is about, again, a woman of color speaking out, defending herself, and sticking up for what's right, and she's being dragged through the mud because of it. But in all the years she was silent and she didn't say anything, she was still being dragged through the mud. So it leaves one to believe that what else could it be?
Exactly. Like to me, I'm like, it's she's a black woman. I mean, and there was even the comment, and nobody addresses this. There was a comment that there were conversations that were going on, and they were wondering, what color, like how dark was Archie gonna be?
Oh yeah,
And like,
Pierce Morgan said, well, someone could have just been asking because they were curious. It didn't have anything to do with race, and I'm like, if it has nothing to do with race, then that's not even a question you ask. It's not even something you think to ask. You don't even think to
no,
ask about someone's skin tone. So, and people like Piers Morgan say, "Well, I'm not racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body." Well, I'm sorry. A lot of people that are racist don't even realize they're racist. They don't even realize they already have these stereotypes because it's an ugly thing to admit that you're racist. Anyone who's racist doesn't openly admit it. They don't come out and say, "Oh, I'm racist." They really genuinely think they're not racist. But they see someone of a different skin tone, and you already have a perception, you already have a stereotype, you're already judging this person. People want to say, "Oh, well, that's prejudice." I'm sorry, but prejudice and racism go hand in hand. There's a thin line. I don't really see much of a separation there. That's just my take on it. Again, if she were a white woman walking the line, not saying anything, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. She's damned if she does, she's damned if she doesn't, because she's a woman of color. And that's what this is about. It has nothing to do with the royals, it has nothing to do with what's going on in UK. This is bigger than that. This is for women of color all over the world. Women are oppressed. People of color are oppressed. More so, women of color. And I'm so glad that she came out and spoke her piece.
In Pierce Morse's defense, though, he did say he had Idris Elba over for dinner the night before, so that kind of that does get to weight. So I don't. It does. You have to consider that.
But it was
Right.
all
Once he comes over for dinner.
it was all
Yeah.
good. She put up with a lot till she had that baby, and then it was like, you're not gonna do my baby like this. Like, you could do me like this, but then when the baby came into the picture, it was game over, and she stood up to protect her baby.
Prince Harry's he's a real one. I'll tell you that. Harry
Yeah.
is a real one to give up. Obviously, he probably was uncomfortable with the standard that was already existed before everything that happened, but to walk away from his family and the firm or whatnot for love, I mean that's strong right there.
Well, he wasn't raised that way, right? So it's a shock to him to have these people that raised him to be not racist and raised him to, to be a good person act this way. So I'm sure he was just like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? You guys didn't raise me this way,
Yeah.
and now all this is coming because I married someone black.
It's different once they're in the house. So,
A lot of people say, well, she's mixed with white, or, she's more white than she is black. But at the end of the day, the world sees her as a black woman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic is because my daughter's half black. So when I speak up about things like this, I'm also speaking for my daughter. This is not just for my daughter. This is for women all over the world, and especially women of color who have not, a lot of them aren't strong enough to speak up. They're not strong enough to go on Oprah Winfrey and say their piece. So I got to give it to her and Harry, because, like you guys said, that took some serious balls for Harry to walk away from all of that. I mean, can you imagine growing up in that, and that's all you know, and to just leave it all behind? Well, and really, they didn't give him much of a choice, because he said they cut him off financially in the first quarter of 2020. So that tells us a lot right there. He was born into it, and they cut him off financially. So
And
they were basically giving him the
you got to go. Yeah. If you're not for us, you're against us. And it's absolutely crazy to me because he said that if it hadn't been for his mother's money, they would have been in real trouble. And I'm like, man, when you talk about like cutting off, like they were like, no, like you get nothing.
yeah.
And
Well, so many people were calling her a gold digger. I mean, I really hate that term, because you can't dig for something that someone's not willing to give you. You see what I'm saying?
oh,
I was feeling her till she said that. I was like, where'd y'all get her from? She's awesome. I don't know. I'm listening. Keep coming. Come on now.
This is a joint relationship, and she had been working since she had been independent. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think working at a Deal or No Deal, we're not going to count that as working.
Yeah.
She was an actress, right? She is an actress.
Yeah. But I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She could have easily, gotten with any guy and, used him for his money. I'm sure there may have been some appeal. He is a prince, and there's a lot that comes with that. You know what I'm saying? So it is attractive. And a lot of people, well, why is she just coming out and speaking up now? Well, a lot of times it's smoke and mirrors. you don't really know what you're getting until you get into the nitty gritty. So, sorry, my dog's making noises. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but sometimes you don't really realize what you're getting until you get into it. So a lot of people are judging her, saying, "Well, why is she speaking up now? She knew what she was getting into." Well, all we know is what we see on the surface, what the media shows us, right? The media are the people that really have the control over the world. We believe what they show us. So all she knew was what the media shown. It's not like they're going to come out and say, "Oh, you marry into this family, and if you get pregnant, we're going to cut you off financially." If she was told that up front, I'm sure she would have walked away. But she didn't know what she was really getting into.
I've never traveled over there to the UK, but what I find interesting is I have a lot of friends of color that are from there, and their general perception is that race relations over there are far, far better than what we experience here in America. So I found that very interesting that even underneath it all, like that still existed once they got into the royalty aspect of it. But they'll tell you, any black person from Great Britain will tell you we don't deal with a fraction of the stuff or the racial issues that you guys deal with in America. So I just thought that was interesting that a story along racial lines came out over there. But not really surprising, just interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about race relations being better there. I think that because there's so much media here that shows certain things, that shows the way that things are here, that they get oversaturated there and they believe everything is like Boys in the Hood, or everything is like they have a particular view of the racism here, and they think that it's far worse than what they experience. But
No, these are people that lived over there that now live over here, and they're comparing their lives
I mean,
in two different.
but when you listen to like the Euro League soccer players and the basketball players, both men and women that play overseas or whatever, and listen to the stories that they tell, like Thierry Henry, who was a striker for Arsenal, like he talks about how he was playing in one match, and and he's taking a corner kick, and he feels stuff on his back. He doesn't know what it is because he's locked into the game, and goes on and goes to playing. And then people like came over to him, and they were spitting on you, and they have this monkey chant. They do this ooh, 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 this monkey chant every time black people touch the soccer ball over there or whatever. I mean, and it's like it's well documented. So I mean, for them, for whoever it is that says that they lived over there and didn't recognize the racism, I don't know how much worse it has to get for them over there, because I've definitely heard tons of stories of it being the exact opposite of that.
I've
Racism.
heard that. I heard that about soccer matches over there. I'll be honest. I've heard all kind of awful things about those. I would never go to a European soccer game. The place is crazy. It's like I don't know, it's
Well,
crazy.
They call them soccer hooligans for a reason, I guess.
the people that
Talk
claim
what?
the people that claim there's no no racism going on are probably the people that live under a rock that haven't actually dealt with racism themselves.
Yeah.
Could be.
Donovan, it seemed like you had something you wanted to say about gold diggers or something.
They are true. They exist. They are real. It is not a partnership.
It's not a partnership.
All right.
Well,
So anybody have anything else they want to say? And that cough was not coronavirus. I'm allergic to the world or whatever. It's spring. It's we're changing seasons in Atlanta or whatever. So you can't catch it through the computer anyway. So don't worry about it.
The last thing I want to say is the way she's being dragged before the interview and after the interview is exactly why so many women and men don't come forward and tell their story. This is why people don't come out and defend themselves, because they're afraid of getting dragged. They're afraid people aren't going to believe them, so they just suffer in silence. So again, shouts out to them, and she doesn't. I don't think she realizes how big what she did was for women all over the world.
I can respect that, and I agree with that. Um, so let's talk about something a little bit different. All Star Weekend just finished up, just wrapped up here in Atlanta. It was a much more subdued event or much more compacted event as far as the actual events. Everything happened instead of happening over the 3 days instead of being Friday to Saturday or Friday to Sunday. It ended up they had everything on one day on Sunday night or Sunday day or whatever, and so the what is it, skills challenge, 3-point competition. Shout out to Steph Curry. Um, Slam dunk competition. Shout out to Anthony, whatever that kid's name.
Exactly.
Simons.
Anthony Simons.
Hmm.
I always wondered what I was wondering, was he named after Penny Hardaway because his name was Anthony, and that's the only other one I've seen. Um, Slam dunk competition, 3-point competition, and the All Star game. I thought the All Star game actually was pretty dope.
I mean, let's talk about those NASCAR boys in Atlanta taking rims off people's cars. NASCAR needs to
There
come
was
and do a
so many
training because
cars on the
those boys was hitting it today over the weekend.
yeah.
They was picking cars clean. It was crazy.
What's happening to Atlanta? Everyone keeps telling me that I know out there that it's changed so much and the crime is up so high. Why do you guys think that is?
I think it's been there. I think it's more social media. So people have been breaking into cars, stealing rims. That's been there. But now you have TikTok, you have Instagram, things that can kind of glorify it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't.
I think
You don't think
wait
it's
there.
gotten worse?
It seems like it's got. It seems like. I mean, to Donnie's point, maybe it had. Maybe it's the same, but social media is kind of amplifying it. We're seeing it more, but like some of the stuff is just so graphic. It's so amazing to see, and I'm like I know where that is. I can't believe that just happened, and with all of the shooting and everything that's happened at Lennox and them putting.
New
Uh,
Greenbrier. It's called New Greenbrier Mall. That's what Linux is. New
Crazy.
Greenbrier Mall.
It's
Linux is
crazy.
the new Greenbrier dog.
It's New Greenbrier Mall, yeah.
They're gonna
Like
have a
I
whole
can't
bunch
even
of
go
shoe
up to
stores
Linux
in there
anymore.
soon.
What's that?
They're gonna have a whole bunch of tennis shoe stores in there soon.
In a flea market. There's a flea market in there.
Wings,
Get that 10K
taxes,
gold.
hair.
Yeah, no, it was wild though. I know there's a lot of underground parties and Diamond. Were you saying it's something about strippers coming out of U-Hauls or something like that? What was going on?
Yeah, there was stuff like women rented U-Hauls and were partying in U-Hauls, pulling up and probably spending the night in a U-Haul rather than getting a hotel room. It's
Oh my
genius.
god, genius,
Genius.
dangerous,
You go to
dangerous.
Planet Fitness to shower or LA Fitness to shower. You sit down and you got a 1999 U-Haul van. You with your girls, y'all are partying. You know what I'm saying? You can lay
Here's
up
what you can't
anywhere.
do.
You can lay up in
You can't
College
come
Park,
to Atlanta
Decatur.
with
Come on,
200.
man.
No, you can't come to Atlanta with $200 in your pocket for All Star Weekend and
Oh
sleep in
my god.
U-Hauls and shower at the YMCA. That's dangerous. That's crazy.
I saw the Kickstarter. The girl, she was like, I got stranded in Atlanta, and she ended up raising like was it like $30,000 or $40,000 to get out of
No,
Atlanta?
she didn't.
Right,
No, she
right.
I
Why do
thought
you
didn't.
it was a
need?
couple
You're stranded in
thousand.
Atlanta. Why you need $1,300 to get home? You came down here with 400, but you need 1,300 to get home. Come on. You better
That's
start an
crazy.
OnlyFans. Get out of here.
Hey, you know what? I can't knock her hustle. A lot of people were dogging her, and I'm like, well, hey, she put it out there. If people, again, if
She's a
someone's
gold
willing to do
digger.
it,
Oh, perfect segue. She's a gold digger.
Now that people willingly gave it to her, like what kind of dummy is going to give her thousands of
That's what
dollars to
gold
get
diggers
home?
do.
people feel
Mm.
sorry. They probably felt sorry for her.
I felt more sorry for the girl that had the gorilla glue in her hair. That's a tragedy. Not
I felt sorry that Dame
not getting
Lillard didn't
stuck in
get
her.
MVP. That's what I was sorry about.
What's that?
Wait,
That Dame Lillard didn't get MVP.
Oh yeah.
For what?
I heard the
The
gorilla
game.
girl. The doctor ended up fixing her hair for free, and she ended up getting all that money from GoFundMe.
Yeah. Of course she did. Of course she did. I'm about to go glue me on a fake toupee and then say I got Gorilla Glue in my hair and I have to shave my head and see if I can start making these. GoFundMe too.
You
For
should
real.
see
I
what
should.
you
I'm
know.
gonna try it.
Hey,
Do not release this episode until after the whole thing goes down.
but they'll make you give the money back.
That's all right. I'll spend it. I'll spend it.
So what happened with like, does anybody know the circumstances of the girl though? Like, I don't know how she got stranded. Like, I don't know what was the circumstance. Anybody know what it actually was? What actually happened?
Well, it was more than one. So there was several GoFundMe's
Yeah.
regarding that. So it wasn't just one. No.
But what happened? Like, what did anybody like read them or anything like that?
It was a
Anybody
con.
know?
I didn't bother reading that. Like, I think she said something about her unemployment check or something didn't kick in. She thought it was going to kick in. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know how I'm getting home. But you don't
The
need
way my
$1,300 to get
checking
home.
account is set up. See,
Right.
the way my checking account is set up. That's craziness. It's a con.
I can't do this. I can't do it. Okay.
But the sad part is I think you can't do it. You can't start one for yourself. Someone has to start it for you.
They all started for each other.
yeah,
Right.
You start one for me, I'll start one for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they probably live in freaking like Gwinnett County, Snellville,
Decatur.
some shit. You know what I mean? They probably don't even live out. They live outside of Atlanta, Conyers.
I'm stuck in it. I'm stuck in Atlanta. I can't go 20 miles.
Right.
I need.
I gotta get to McDonough. Give me $1,300 to get to McDonough.
Oh man.
Yeah. But All-Star Weekend came and went. It was nothing like it would have been if Atlanta wasn't was wide open if we weren't in this pandemic.
So the thing that interests me is I'm like, this is a little bit of the conspiracy theorist coming out in me. I was like, wait a minute. Like, we know that we're still supposed to be in lockdown, though Atlanta never did. Like, we were in lockdown for like a month and a half. And then everybody was like, well, I'm kind of over this COVID thing, so we just going to start going to parties and try to keep it quiet. But I felt like the NBA should be ashamed of themselves for doing it. And I'm like,
For doing what?
For having All-Star Weekend. There was no reason for them to have All-Star Weekend. And then if they were like, we have to have All-Star Weekend, you could have done it at IMG Academy. You could have done it at any of the other places where they had the bubble or whatever. But you came to Atlanta or whatever, Atlanta, a black city, and it's been super, super open or whatever. And they were like, oh, let's have it there. There's no reason. There was nothing special about Atlanta. And then with Mayor Bottoms going, hey, like, this is a made for TV only event. You guys shouldn't, like, nobody come to the city of Atlanta. And everybody was like, I don't know about that one. We coming. But I feel like the NBA, like, there's going to be a huge outbreak of COVID, another outbreak of COVID in 3 to 4 weeks. And and I guarantee that the contractors, the contact tracers are going to be like, you know, it all happened somewhere around State Farm. It started somewhere around State Farm Arena, ended up on Peachtree or whatever. It's going to be something like that. Like, I promise.
Yeah.
I mean, NBA is still a business and they have TV contracts, so I don't necessarily fault them for going through with it. I mean, there were no NBA sanctioned events and whatnot. Should they have done it? They should have not have done it for the safety of their own employees, right? Like, I think it was dangerous to bring the players here. That should have been the first concern. But what people do outside, people coming to the city, that's not a concern of them or whatnot. If Atlanta was serious about preventing that stuff from happening, then it would have been some type of procedures or some type of shutdowns in place or whatnot.
But like he said, you can have it, but why have it in a city like Atlanta? Why not take it back to the bubble, you know, and have the protocol there? Like, you're basically stirring the pot up. Atlanta, come on, All-Star game, everybody's coming. It's Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. They all gonna get in their cars and come. Everybody's flying in. So have the game, just have it at the bubble in Orlando.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what
Donnie's favorite player, LeBron, was adamant. He was like, I don't want to come. Donnie he just recently got a LeBron 2-3 over Kobe tat. It's weird, but he got that.
Can you see it? You can't. Oh, yeah, okay.
but LeBron was like, I'm not excited about it. I don't want to go. And why would we do it in Atlanta or whatever? Like even if they were doing it, like why in Atlanta? Like it doesn't make sense. And this is the first time I ever heard Donovan actually agree with him. I'm gonna be honest.
I think it's just because Atlanta's relaxed on, everything's open. So it lets people go out, party. They don't give it, the government don't give a damn about us.
Not at all.
So they're going to have it where people can get out, party, go out to dinner, and just wild out. That's, I'm sure they didn't want the extra crime, but when you think about it, if they were to have it in a state with more restrictions, they wouldn't have made as much money.
It's true.
Boils down to the money.
But it does. And speaking of the money, so I have to give kind of I see what the NBA did a little bit. They were like, well, if we're gonna do this, then we're gonna raise some money. So they did a huge push to support HBCUs, and I got to give them props for that or whatever. I have to give Chris Paul, because Chris Paul has been at the forefront of pushing for HBCUs, even though he went to Wake Forest and did not go to HBCU. He's
enrolled in Winston-Salem State now, though.
What was that?
He's enrolled in Winston-Salem State now.
Oh, okay, like a master's program or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And he also mentioned that he went to some program at Harvard or whatever, and in the midst of that program at Harvard, it was something in conjunction with the NBA. He mentioned that he was thinking, I wonder if HBCUs have this program, and he partnered with one of the Harvard professors to bring that program to another HBCU, so that they have an equivalent program. Which I think is actually, that's pretty dope. That's the way that you affect change on a very real level for real people. But the All-Star game ended up raising, I think, $1.3 or $1.4 million that were dedicated to the Thurgood Marshall Fund and the what was it? The NAACP, National Association, NAACP, I believe.
Don't say if you don't know it. Don't get out there. Don't go ahead and mess it up.
Right. They're gonna be like, "Where's my check?"
If the NAACP is looking for me to give them a check, good luck. Yeah. I ain't got it.
But it's cool. What else we got?
Anything else about All Star?
Nah, it came, it went. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So something I think that we need to just kind of do a little bit of follow up. We did a lot of discussions in 2020 around the George Floyd case or situation that happened with George Floyd and his untimely death. That and I'm trying to figure out the right way. Former officer POS. General POS, Dereck Chauvin is on trial, and the trial started. It's supposed to start Monday, but I think it started Tuesday. I think they did jury selection and stuff like that. So that trial is starting now, or whatever. So thoughts from everybody on the trial just in general, even though we haven't heard anything coming out of it yet.
Donovan, it's all you.
I feel like he's gonna go to jail. He may not get the maximum sentence. There's gonna be something about him being a police officer and him kind of going there and doing his job that's gonna prevent it from being like death penalty or 100 years or something like that. So he'll definitely go to jail because it was definitely excessive force. But the murder and stuff like that, I don't know about that.
So pretty much it'll be like the Capitol rioters that got arrested quick, but they're all at home right now. Like
yeah, I mean, each state has their own rules. And, I think murder is like premeditated or something like that. So did he mean to do it? So he might get hit with like a homicide. They didn't hit him with a homicide charge, but they hit him with a murder charge. He might get off on murder. but then he'll get like excessive force or something like that. So it just all depends on what the charges are.
He had an appeal today that was denied by the court, so it made him so there's another murder charge that's going to be pending on the case. So we'll see how it plays out. I do know this, and I was talking about this with my wife. If for any reason, if he doesn't serve any jail time, if he does not go to jail at all, I don't even know if Minnesota is even going to be there anymore. I really believe that, and that's really unfortunate that I have to make that type of statement, but that's the reality of it. Somebody said something the other day that really struck home. Now, I love dogs, right? I got 3 dogs. I've had I don't know how many dogs over the course of my life, but somebody said that Michael Vick served more time, or whatever it was, 24 months for killing the 100 dogs than any officer has served for killing the 493 unarmed black people or people of color over the last 5 years. And I thought that was like a crazy stat, right? I thought Michael Vick should have got more time. Not a popular thought in Atlanta, but definitely just to consider that not one police officer has served a day in jail for the unarmed killing of a person of color is crazy. It's insane. It's insane. So I hope this is the first, because if it's not, oh my God.
Well, I think that this is why everything is happening. Everything's come to a head. Donald Trump being in office, racism at an all-time high, because it's about time that it boiled over. I'm surprised it didn't boil over sooner. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's been swept under the rug by the good old party, the good old... And now it's finally coming to a head because things have to change. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. And unfortunately, George Floyd's life was yet again another life taken. But it had to be something, I believe that there's always something bigger than us. And I believe that his life was sacrificed because the system has to change. And sometimes it's going to get real ugly and nasty before it can change. But that's why it's good that we continue to have these conversations to remind people we haven't forgotten.
Yeah. I think that if he doesn't get any jail time, and even if he doesn't get any meaningful jail time, something over 10, 15 years, if he doesn't get something like that, I anticipate that I will hit Instagram and Facebook with the same exact thing that I did before, and I'm going to post Dracarys, and they gonna burn that bitch down. Like, they will absolutely, and it'll be all over. It'll be all over the country. So I would be shocked if I think people are scared. Or whatever. So I think that those jurors are going to be paying very close attention. But hopefully the right thing happens or whatever. But I've got virtually no faith in the system as it currently stands or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call on what the charges are, and then being a police officer, it allows you to do certain things. Like it allows you to go in there. If he says, "Oh, I felt threatened," or "I had to get the situation under control," it allows them to do certain things, right? So that chokehold and all this stuff wasn't barred until like after that, right? So it's not recommended, not part of necessarily training. That's why the training and the excessive force, you might go to jail for that stuff. But then, like the murder and stuff like that, it's just you just don't know, man.
I actually read, and I'm not sure if it applies to the city that he was an officer, but I read like the knee to the neck was actually a training tool or a training procedure that they were actually taught in order to subdue a criminal or whatnot, which is crazy to begin with. But I think Donovan is actually pretty right on. They're going to look at what he was allowed and authorized to do. That happens like once every 20 years. Enjoy it. I say you were right on. but they're going to look at what he was authorized and trained to do, then see how much he varied from that. But regardless, I don't want to see him get off. I don't want to see Minneapolis on fire. I don't want to relive the anguish and the darkness that I felt when that whole incident occurred and he was killed in those 8 minutes and 42 seconds. I would like to Ahn's point. I'd like to see America actually progress and learn from one of these killings for a change and actually begin to turn a corner. It's a really big corner we have to get around, but begin to turn a corner in terms of the way officers are trained, the way officers do their job, the way they relate to Black people while they're doing their job. There's a lot of things that have to be addressed, and I hope this is the turning point for that.
It would be nice if it was.
Yeah. So a quick story, right? Pardon me. I used to be an assistant principal at a school system, and then I was a teacher as well. And a kid was doing something, and I restrained him as a teacher. And then I got in trouble for it because they told me I shouldn't have touched him. But they told me if I was an assistant principal, I would have gotten away with it. It wouldn't have been an issue because it would have been my job to kind of keep that kid under control. So even though he was out of control, destroying property, I did what I thought was right to get him under control. Got in trouble for it because of my role. But if I had a higher role, then it wouldn't have been an issue.
Wow.
So that goes along with what we're saying about him being a cop. Is going to allow him to get off on some things.
Yeah, that's, and unfortunately this had to happen for there to be police reform. I hate to use the word defund the police, but there has to be police reform, and unfortunately it has to take something catastrophic to happen over and over and over again before change will be made.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's coming. It's just going to happen slowly, and we may not see it in our lifetime, but there will be changes made because, like you guys said, people are afraid. They don't want to see things get burned down again. And I hate to say it, but that was supposed to happen. I'm not saying that I agree that it happened. I'm not saying that that's how it should be handled. But again, I think of everything on a larger scale, and I feel like that had to happen to scare the shit out of people so that they're on alert now. Like, oh, I can't just be a racist jerk. I can't just walk around and be openly racist anymore. I got to really watch what I say and do because I can now lose my job. Buildings might get burned down, so I think change will happen. It's just going to happen slowly, but there's always going to be racism. There's always going to be some sort of systemic racism. I don't think it's something we'll ever get away from 100% because races breed more races. And unless their tubes get tied or vasectomies start happening, it's
Why
just
are we cutting folk now? Jeez.
So
No, but to Alan's point, I think like there is a development right now in the country for the first time in my lifetime to where there's like a zero tolerance for any type of hate speech or hate activity or hate related action in the workplace or in just people's personal lives, right? Like for instance, I'm a huge Miami Heat fan, being from Miami, right? So the dude Leonard down there who had a situation where he used an anti-Semitic slur, like that's it. It's a wrap for that guy, right? He's already away from the team. Um, Whereas before, a token apology would have been issued, and he would have said all the right things, and it would have been swept underneath the rug. I do think that now, whether it be because of race or whether we're talking about women being targeted or spoken to incorrectly, that the tolerance for that stuff is zero now. And some people call it cancel culture. I just call it, well, it's about time that these things are happening. Zero
exactly.
tolerance for that. We
And
need, we need a better world.
even social media. I mean,
Yeah.
When Donald Trump gets banned permanently from Twitter and other social media sites, change is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's happening, but we still have a long way to go.
So I just want to go back to one point that I made a second ago, and it's those racists breeding other racists or whatever. And Kanye had a brilliant quote. Old Kanye, not this new dude. He said there's always gonna be haters. That's the way it is. Hater niggas marry hater bitches and have hater kids, or whatever. And it's the same thing. Racists beget more racists. You continue to see that. or whatever. And until and I've said this to Brandon and Donovan, and I think I said it on the podcast before. Like, I think the only thing that will erase the racist tendencies and things like that is an extraterrestrial event.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that brings everybody on the planet together, or whatever. So whether it's some other beings, whether it's some Ellie, some extinction level event, or something like that. That's the only thing that's going to stop all of the foolishness. So I think we gotta. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that, but we got to treat each other better. We have to communicate more. We got to do something because what we're doing right now is not working.
Yeah, it'd be great to eradicate, hate and racism altogether. And the reality of it is, people are still people, right? Like they still have free will. So it's never going to get to that point. But I'm actually encouraged because when I look at like my kids and their friends and how race doesn't exist, um, gender gender bias doesn't exist with them, sexuality doesn't matter with them. Like that's very encouraging. And just looking at like we talk about this all the time. We in our high school, we all three went to high school together at some point, right? There were guys or people in our high school that were definitely homosexual, right? We all knew it. It wasn't a big deal, but they also weren't open with it. We just all knew it and accepted it, right? But now, like in my daughter's school, there's people that are open with it. Yeah, I'm gay, and it's completely acceptable, and they don't catch any flack for it. I'm not sure there's some people that hate on them or have some bad views, but it becomes more acceptable and more tolerant. And I think the younger generation is doing a much better job than even our generation did, and certainly better than the generation before us. So I think it does get better over time. Um, I'll tell a quick story. Back when George Floyd and maybe it's Breonna Taylor too. But at my last job, I went out for lunch on Delk Road, which is a really busy road out in Cobb County, and I saw this group of white people with a lot of signs, some Black Lives Matter signs, some We Support You signs, some signs that are just very encouraging, trying to get people to come together. And it was so cool because I didn't see any black people out there. These are groups of white people, young white kids and whatnot. And I stopped, man. And I bought those kids lunch and brought them all kind of stuff because to me, that was like, wow, there's a lot of hate in this world, but there's a lot of good that's coming too. And it is changing. It just takes time, unfortunately. And how much time is allotted, it should have happened already, but I think we all need to keep the perception that yeah, it's dark at times, but there's a lot of light out there as well. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, hopefully it doesn't take aliens. Doesn't take aliens to come because that's I'm out at that point.
It's
Well,
gonna take it.
I think
No, okay.
where we really need to work on too is all people of color coming together, because
All people of color.
we still have hatred between people of color towards other races, and it's like,
Yep.
"Ooh, you're a person of color too, so and it's not us against whites, it's people of color against racism, white people that are against racism, just being against racism, period. But, I just noticed that we have a lot of hatred within our own communities against each other, and it's like, how can we expect white people to not be racist and we're still hating on each other? It's like we haven't even fixed our own household yet. And,
I
Like,
want to take that a step further too, real quick. I don't even think it's all people of color against people that are of non-color that are racist. I actually think it's people um, of an open mindset or people against people. I think it's a very small minority of people that are actually racist. I know a lot of people of non-color that are just as passionate for equal rights for blacks or Asians or Mexicans or Spanish, and they're just as passionate about it. So I think we do have to be careful when not us particularly, but people in general look at people of non-color and say, well, okay, they could be racist just because they don't understand. And that's not necessarily the case. Just to take it a step further.
I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know if I agree with the only there's only a small amount, right? Like 73, 75 million people voted for Trump, and like in the most recent election or whatever. And I know somebody's gonna say, well, do you equate every person that votes for Trump as being a racist? And I'm gonna say no, not all of them, but but I'm going to say that out of that 73 to 75 million, probably only 1% of them are not racist. So that
One
means
percent of them.
only 1%. 1% of them are not racist, is what I think.
I have to wholeheartedly agree with that. And I'm like a huge Donald Trump hater, right? I don't say hater. I try to keep hate out my heart. But I don't care for the man. But I get what you're saying. I don't think that percentage is as small as you say. So when I say there's a small percentage of people of non-color that are racist, I I don't think it's 70%. I don't think it's 50%. It's large enough for it to impact us on our daily basis. But I don't think 1% of the people that voted for Donald Trump are actually people that just voted for him for reasons outside of race. I mean, I don't think that's to be the case.
I mean, you have to think about it. Republicans are Republicans, right? And that's just how they're going to vote. Trump supporters, they're just a little bit different because some of them come from The Apprentice or whatever show he was on, The Apprentice, right? They love him and follow him from that. So that's a whole different thing with him. But I think a lot of them are just Republicans and they vote Republican, and that's just it, right? So I wouldn't say 1% of them are racist. And I had another point, but I
No, I'm
forgot.
saying only 1% of them are not racist.
Yeah, I just don't.
I believe that
No,
99%. Just to do the converse
Nah.
of the math, I believe 99% of the people who voted for Trump are racist. There we go.
not just
Um,
Republicans.
No, no, just the people who
they're
voted.
not just rich.
Nope. Yeah.
Mm.
If you can overlook all of the other stuff that he said or whatever, and just go, oh well, I only did that because this fiscal thing or that tax break that I got. But you can turn your back on the treatment of dreamers and the eradication of DACA. If you can turn your back on all of the other things that he's done, or whatever, the misogynist, the misogynism, the sexism, like all of the stuff that he's done, like you can turn your back on all of that. You're generally just like an asshole or whatever.
You,
But you're
well,
but along with being an asshole, you are also most assuredly a racist. Is all I'm saying.
no, you could be a bad person independently of being a racist. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of people, but you
and
certainly
That's
I
be a
why
think
bad
we
person independently of
that's
being
where
a
the
racist.
asshole came from.
Well, yeah, but you said also certainly racist, which is
Well, yeah. I mean, it's my belief,
I
but
think we've had our no, we had our greatest gains during the with Martin Luther King, and that was about everybody coming together, right? And so what Ann was saying was people, the races coming together, but we need all races, not just people of color. Everybody that's against racism needs to come together, stand together, and make a
yeah.
stand, take a stand on it, right? We don't need to continue to separate ourselves. You can't separate yourselves and then say, I'm not racist.
Yeah,
No, you
exactly.
know what the scary thing was for me was I'm sorry, go ahead, E. My bad.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna stand on one quick point. Every time somebody brings up Martin Luther King, I just want to point out just the this one fact: he got shot in the face. Like that's all I'm gonna say. Like Martin Luther King, like for everything that he did for trying to bring people together, I 100% agree, and I want to make sure that all happens or whatever. But like I hear so many people, not Donovan. I'm not talking about Donnie in particular, right? But every time I hear it, I'm like, everybody, like y'all weren't with him shooting in the gym. Like everybody wasn't behind him back then. Everybody didn't love Martin Luther King back then or whatever, and the government had him assassinated. He got shot in the face or whatever. So I'm just like, we have to. I feel like we got to progress. I feel like we got to keep going or whatever. But there's a whole lot of messed up stuff that happened that we need to make sure that we address that point as well. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I saw things happen in 2020, um, and I don't know about the greatest gains or not, or when the greatest gains occurred, but I saw things happen in 2020 in regards to people supporting equality for all that I never saw in my lifetime before.
Yeah.
That's 100% true.
Some of
So
they were rioting in Portland, Oregon. Minneapolis. We know ain't no black people in Minneapolis, and we know ain't no black people in Portland. And even after everything happened, they were still going at it in Portland for like some days, like weeks, right? So it's not just black people that are doing it, that are upset with it. It's everybody, because it's injustice, and people are standing up for injustice.
You know,
Absolutely.
I heard something very interesting and was referring back to Nazi Germany, saying how the Nazis were a very small percentage of the German population, but they were able to cause those wars and to take power because all the people that knew that they were wrong just didn't speak up against it. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. Hopefully, there are enough people, to An's point, that are speaking up against it, that are coming together, as Donovan said, to speak up against it, to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. Because that thing back with the Conservative Political Action Committee, that whole convention they had, that was some scary stuff, right? So hopefully there's enough people that are speaking out against stuff like that. So groups that are that far to the right or that far extreme or whatnot don't really come to power in this country and take us down a path. 'Cause I tell people before, you're a political history guy, Eric. Uh, it's not far fetched for that type of group like the Nazis to happen again. All it takes is for people to look the other way long enough for that group to rise to power and cause enough damage, and then here we are. We're back where we started from. History. When has history never repeated itself in the history of the world? Right? It always happens again.
But that's why I was really hoping that that impeachment and removal, the Senate trial for Donald Trump, I was hoping that I knew it wouldn't happen, but I was hoping that they would convict him and remove him, because there's a direct parallel between what happened with Hitler and what happened with Donald Trump right now. So with Nazi Germany, Hitler came into power for a few years, and he was fairly moderate, and then he went out of power and then came back in rather forcibly a few years later, and had Trump been been convicted, he would not have been able to run for or attain another political office in the United States ever again, and that would have ensured that those trumpets or whatever, or those maggots, ended up, kind of headless or whatever. But instead, Mitch McConnell's soft, pasty ass decided that he was going to vote, and a lot of those other guys decided they were gonna be some punks and not do the right thing or whatever. And I think it's setting us up for at the end of this Biden term or whatever, in 3.5 years, for us to have another reckoning that we're going to have to deal with.
Well, that's why we got to pay attention to the rolling back of the voting rights that are going on in various states like Georgia right now, taking it back to the Jim Crow era. People just need to stay woke on stuff like that.
Stay woke.
And don't wait
Woke,
until something catastrophic happens to get out and vote.
yeah. If so, I'm hopping on that shit with the aliens, and y'all can have it.
Yeah.
Welcome to a whole new planet. Forget about it. I'm
All
not doing
right.
this again.
So I think this has been a pretty awesome discussion or whatever. But let's switch gears just a little bit. So Ahn and I had a little bit of a discussion. Maybe it was earlier today. But men and women chasing compliments. You had an interesting story. We're not gonna name any names or
No.
whatever, but you had an interesting story that kind of prompted this topic. So if you want to kind of give your thoughts on it, and we'll jump in after that.
Well, I had posted a video of myself, and it was just me showing my more sensual side, and the caption read,
Where's this? Oh, I'm sorry. Where's this at? I'm sorry. Focus.
"So
Let me
funny."
mute myself.
And the caption said, "The most beautiful thing you can wear is confidence." And the reason I posted
Absolutely.
it was, number one, to celebrate myself, because I'm 45 years old, and when I'm 55, you never know what's going to happen in 10 years. Once you reach in your 50s, you can't post pictures like that. I'm probably going to be a lot more conservative in my videos and, button ups and pearls and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, I better enjoy it while I can and have some fun with it. Anyway, that led to someone messaging me, and he, sent me some photos of himself. They weren't of his private area. I don't know how much I can cuss or how explicit I
You
can
can
be.
say whatever you want. This is it's on YouTube, and it's not even set for children. So you good. Go ahead. Do your
Okay.
thing.
Thankfully, he
Just
didn't
don't
send.
show us his pictures.
I won't show him.
Do not want
I
to see
will
that.
mute you so fast.
Then
I will
I'll
block
get
your
banned, right? I'll get banned by you guys, not YouTube. But thankfully he didn't send dick pics. But anyway, it was just of his body. And anyway, I complimented him, and basically, and this is not the first time this has happened with a guy. The response was, "Oh, I think I'm just okay." And I was like, "Well, you obviously think you look good because you sent me the picture, And so I was like, "You look great." And I could just, I read energy, and I could sense the energy was needing an ego boost. And so I said it once, but then once I gave the compliment the first time, then they come back with, "Well, if you say so." And I'm like, well, I don't even know what to say to that. I guess my point is, when someone gives you a compliment, to me, in my opinion, the best thing you can just say is thank you.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because when you keep coming back with the, "Oh yeah, I think I'm okay," or "Oh yeah, if you say so," or "Oh, I'm just all right," you sound pathetic. You know what I'm saying? And even if you feel that way, the best thing you can do is just say thank you, because now you're putting the other person who's paying you a genuine compliment in a position to be like, "Oh, now what, you want me to just shower you with compliments so you can feel better about yourself?" I mean, how many more rounds can we do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, anyway, the conversation Eric and I had was that's a turnoff for me. I mean, I'm not saying that someone can't have insecurities. We all have insecurities to a certain degree, um, but have confidence, I guess, in yourself enough. And it's not even just about physicality. Eric, we touched on that, and I'll let you tell your side.
Touched on it.
Oh my god, but I love
My
it.
man.
I said this on Facebook earlier today. I was like, if we're gonna put people on a scale, I was like, I would date a guy who has the looks of on a 3 level, but has the mentality of a 10, before I would date a guy who has the mentality of a 3, but the looks of a 10. Did you follow what I was saying?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Women love confidence, And back
yeah,
in the day, I used to think like, oh
yeah.
my God, does she want me? Now I'm like, if she's breathing, she wants me. Everybody wants me. If she's breathing, she wants me. That's my mentality. I don't know.
No, I seen them literally hold a mirror up to people to make sure they're alive, and this is to check. And
Yeah,
if
like,
the
gotta
mirror
get the
falls up,
fall.
it's like I'm
Once the
in.
fall comes, I'm good. Yeah, it doesn't mean that they want me, but I'm like, that's just what I believe. I'm like, why wouldn't they? Like, I'm awesome. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, one, the funny guy gets the girl, always. And then, if you're confident, that works. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's lame. That dude lame. He lame as fudge, y'all.
Well, and that's one thing I liked about one of my exes, is even though he wasn't physically my type, and I turned him down the first time he asked me out. But the reason why I ended up going out with him later on was because when he saw me the second time, he didn't allow the first time to stop him from me turning him down. He still came back over to me. He still was like, "Hey, I met you at the stop, Orion. I met you at the airport. Remember me?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." Where most guys, once they're rejected, they're not going back over to talk to that female, right? So I was already impressed by that. I was like, wow, he came back over here a second time. That was pretty bold and brave of him, right? And then he said, "Well, listen, I know you turned me down when I met you at the airport, but if I just thought I'd come over here and ask again and see if you'd be willing to go to lunch with me." And I was so impressed by that I took him up on his offer, and we ended up going to lunch. Anyway, things didn't work out. We did end up splitting later, but we had a 5-year relationship, and he, kind of just approached it as a friendship type of thing. When we went to lunch, he wasn't like trying to kick the door down and, you know, making it so obvious that he wanted to be with me. He just got to know me, and then he took his time with it. Every so often he'd reach out to me, hey, you want to come to this barbecue? Hey, do you want to come meet me for dinner? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was more of a relaxed approach, I guess, and because of his confidence, it wasn't like, why did you turn me down the first time? When I met you at the airport, he didn't come over to me the second time. Why? What is it about me you don't like? Or it wasn't anything like that. It was just hey, he was just cool. He was himself. He was relaxed, and that's what I like.
I don't know. It sounds like you miss him.
No.
Shit, I was thinking, I was like, maybe I have a chance, and you just kept going on, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then he was this. Damn.
I mean, we didn't work out, but I can give somebody their props, even though we didn't work out. But no, I am 100,000% past that.
No just means not right now. That's all it means. Not right now. That's all. And if you ask him for dinner,
no means no, brother. First of all, no means no. So don't ever.
And then you got to take him to lunch. Lunch is less threatening than dinner.
No,
lunch and coffee always work.
Well, that's what got me was lunch, because in my experience, speaking for me personally, most of the guys that would ask me out for dinner or for a drink. I'm like, or over to their place. I'm like, really? We just met. Like, come on. So he came with something different. Let's go to lunch. I was like, damn, I hardly hear that, Okay.
Lunch and coffee are not threatening. You feel like you got to end it like right around 4 or 5, a happy hour. Dinner's like it can go on all night. You don't know how you can get rid of the guy. Coffee and lunch that's it.
That's it. There you go.
Look at y'all, just dropping knowledge right there. Dropping knowledge.
I think we're bonding. Can y'all get off real quick so we can? I need to talk to her.
That sounds like
get the central. So I need to go back and find out what them damn pictures were. Is that shit still up? Did it get taken down? What, you shadow ban? What's happening?
Oh my gosh, Donnovant, you were hilarious. I love it.
Confidence is key.
Is key. That's right.
And being funny.
Yes.
Clearly.
Oh my gosh, have a sense of humor, for crying out loud. Eric's just like,
I'm stuck. All right, I'm stuck. There we go. So
I think
conversely, like for women, I've always felt like women have it a little bit easier because you don't have to approach or whatever. We 9 times out of 10 we're approaching you, and unless you are just like impervious to, you're just like, oh well, you said no, all right, what about you? Are you interested? What about you? Or whatever. It ends up being a numbers game for guys or whatever. So you got to talk to a whole bunch of different women. I mean, and I'll say for me, I won't talk about anybody else, but I'll say for me, like what I've seen is you gotta her, you, what do you think? And so seeing that guy and knowing people the way I do. First of all, Ahn, I know that you're gonna get a whole bunch of lunch requests after this. But I know that we end up going, well, all right, like it's a lot of work. We have to invest a whole lot of time in it. Brandon can't talk about this subject at all. Donovan can't.
Yeah, there's no time, dude. You just gotta compliment them on something that nobody else compliments them on, right? Women spend a lot of time on their eyebrows, like lipstick color. They care about that shit. We don't care about that shit. But you gotta be like, man, your eyebrows look amazing. And once she got her eyebrows done, she's gonna be like, oh my god, you notice the small things. So you just have, I don't know, man. I don't feel like it's a numbers game. I feel like if you talk to them and you're being genuine, if you start off as friends or however you play it, but I don't know, dude. I don't feel like it's a numbers game.
I get what you're both saying. Eric, I think, what you're saying is for some guys it becomes that because they approach so much, whether they consciously or unconsciously realize it's a numbers game. But Donovan, I get what you're saying too. It's like if you know how to approach a woman and just pay attention and just pick the certain ones that you're attracted to. Am I interpreting it correctly?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it sounds. I hope it doesn't sound too ugly, but not everybody is worthy of my time. So I'm going to be real specific about who I'm going after, right? And I'm not trying to just go after anybody. It's not whatever, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to be specific about who I want, and then from that I'm going to zone in and I'm going to attack.
Well, so it sounds like the advice that Donovan is giving is actually respect yourself, kings.
That's right. I like that. I feel for men. I have compassion for men because I know that it's challenging dealing with women and all of the things that make up women, and we're definitely some interesting creatures. And then you guys are mainly the ones doing the approaching, so I can only imagine what you deal with. You have to go up to a woman you don't know anything and introduce yourself. I will
At the end
say,
of the day,
through social media, like you said, I think invest a little bit of time. If you're really interested in this woman, look at what she posts about, look at what she talks about, and then make that a topic of conversation when you message her. I mean, I get so many messages from guys who don't have any sort of creative communication skills. It's the usual, hi, how are you? You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. I appreciate the compliment, but a lot of women hear that all the time. So you got to come, and it's not that we don't appreciate it, because then guys are like, oh, you don't appreciate it. One day you're going to get old and you're going to wish somebody was complimenting you. No, it's not about that. It's saying something different than the other 100 guys that are in her inbox.
yeah.
I had another ex, we met through Facebook, and he messaged me because of out of all my posts and all the, lots of pictures that I posted over time, he noticed that I had gone to Africa. And so that told me right there, but he didn't come across as creepy or stalkerish. You know what I mean? It was just, oh, I noticed you went to Africa. I'm intrigued. I'd love to go there sometime. And pictures were beautiful. And, it was just very simple to the point, but it told me that he paid attention. And I was like, wow, someone actually noticed something that I posted other than, a cute picture of myself.
Yeah. Ask a girl what book she's reading. That's always like, oh. It's a little bit different. And at the end of the day, if she likes you, you're good. If she doesn't like you, there's really not a whole lot that you can do for towards that situation. But yeah, most people like me, so I'm good.
Poor Brandon.
Except for you two.
I know this dude this whole life, so I'm going back through literally every person. Like I was there for like 90% of the rejection, so I'm just playing it back in my head.
But you're absolutely right. That was then. This is now. Remember, we always talk about, man. If I knew then what I know now. Remember, I'm not gonna say it. Once a girl gets over 30, all you gotta do is call them when you say you're gonna call them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you no longer have to be 6'2" and make $200,000. If you call when you say you're gonna call, oh my gosh, she will love you. Yeah, you hear that?
What you say you're gonna do?
Yeah.
And if you can't follow through, you have to say that too. It's all about effective communication. If for some reason you say, hey babe, I'm going to call you at 7 when I'm done with this meeting, and for some reason something else comes up, all it takes is a quick text, hey, I know I promised I was going to call you at 7, something came up, but I will call you as soon as I can, instead of just waiting until 8:30, and then she's sitting there for an hour and a half peeved, and all it took was a quick text to just say, hey, something came up and I got to call you back.
But if she likes you, it doesn't matter that she was sitting there an hour and a half. She's still going to go out with you.
What's that?
If she likes you, it doesn't matter that she was sitting there an hour and a half waiting for you to call. She's still going to go out with you. If she doesn't like you, you're blocked. If she likes you, it's good. It's all good.
That's true. But
that's true.
If he consistently doesn't follow through, the liking only lasts for so long. It starts to chip away at it if he consistently just, an hour and a half and keeps her waiting. I know that's happened to me, so I know, once, twice, 3 times, okay. Once we start to get to the 3rd time, I'm like, I've had guys do that to me where they just kept me waiting, and I was sitting around, and then I finally was like, you know what? I like you, but
I'm going to call Donovan.
I'm going to just sit around waiting on your ass. Sorry, we're cool.
I'm gonna post a picture on Facebook.
What's that?
You were like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm gonna post a picture on Facebook.
Cool.
Best advertising I've seen, right? All right, so this has been like really really dope. Like I'm loving the energy or whatever. Like, but I think it's time to wrap now. This has been awesome. Episode 8. I don't know what it's gonna be titled yet, but episode 8 of the Hear Me Out podcast. I'm Eric,
3G.
Donovan,
On
and
Vu. On Vu.
all right,
make sure you like and subscribe.
like and subscribe. Turn on post notifications.
Uh,
Holla.
later.